Well, Professor Psychological Sciences at the University of East London, Mark McDermott, is joining us now, really to look, I guess, into their heads. is the only way I can say it, Professor. Good morning to you. I mean,
Good morning.
We're fed up of talking about them, Insulate Britain. We feel like we're giving them airtime, yet we have to tell our viewers where they are and what's happening, really. We have a duty of care. What on earth makes people do this and continue to do this?
Well, people rebel for one of two reasons, really. In the first instance, they rebel sometimes because they have a genuine sense of disaffection from what is they perceive to be required of them. And secondly, sometimes people rebel in order just simply to get kicks from being oppositional. Now, I think it's really clear yesterday that that's not true of the latter here. They weren't doing this to get kicks, to have a sense of high arousal and enjoyment. This rebellion, if we want to call it that, is coming from a sense of disaffection, a sense of there being an unreasonable set of requirements surrounding them, perhaps to be passive and to do nothing in the face of inaction as they perceive it to be. So I think, as many of them spoke yesterday, that this is coming from a place in their minds in which they have a just grievance against those whom they are protesting against, not the lorry drivers, indeed, who also have a just grievance from being stopped going about their business. But this is what I would call reactive rebellion rather than proactive rebellion, which is about the sensation-seeking form of rebelliousness. I think, if I may, another...
So someone would call it just pain in the neck rebellion, and I'm just wondering if they care, and they must know, because my word, that was shown yesterday, people have had enough. They're sick and tired of this behaviour.
Yeah, I understand that entirely. I suppose we can ask the bigger question of whether or not anything ever comes good from rebellions. And I think we have to remind ourselves that in the past, when people have stood up for what they perceive to be injustices of various kinds, good things have come from it. So, I mean, if you want to look back and think about the apartheid regime in South Africa and Nelson Mandela's actions therein, you could say his rebellions led to greater freedoms for South Africa. So oftentimes, actually, what we perceive to be these antisocial acts can, in time, produce social goods, though they seem very problematic at the time.
So, can you sort of plot what's going to happen here? I mean, I guess you've been watching this with interest, because they say they're not going to stop. I mean, even when the law comes in, what do you think they're going to do now?
Well, as I understand it, Insulate Britain are an offshoot of Extinction Rebellion. Pardon me if I've got that wrong, but so I cannot see that they are going to give up on this. Environmental catastrophe is something that is staring us all in the face and isn't going to go away. And, we have targets that are 30 years from now, which probably are going to inflame feelings that not enough is being done in the short term. I think looking at the people taking part yesterday, some commentators said that perhaps these people should get a job. But I think what's interesting, if you look at the protesters there, many of them were, I would say, our senior members of the UK and were possibly in their 60s, possibly of retirement age. So we're seeing people who have probably spent a lot of time thinking about this and fermenting these feelings of disaffection, and so are coming from a place which is, I think, well thought through and quite principled, albeit that they are disrupting, without doubt, community life in a way that is not to be condoned at all. I think these people are going to persist.
Yeah, and the problem with this is, Mark, and we all saw the pictures yesterday, as we've seen pictures before, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to die. And it won't be one of these protesters, and it won't be one of these protesters that ends up in prison. It'll be someone who's been trying to remove them because they're trying to get their kid to a hospital or something like that. And this is where people get really cross with them.
I agree. It's a very difficult situation, and people caught up in that have to think about what they're doing, both as protesters and both as people. As we see, those lorry drivers felt they had a legitimate grievance, something to push back against. They were wanting to get to work. It was quite reasonable that they felt that they should be able to remove. But I understand the law is that as soon as you put your hand on somebody else, you're in effect in the land of possible technical assault. Not that anybody was assaulted yesterday, in my view. I thought the lorry drivers were very restrained and very respectful, and I thought their removal of the people was done in a very peaceable kind of way. So I think the lorry drivers and the motorists deserve great praise in terms of their restraint yesterday. But it is an ambiguous situation, and I think you're right. People may become hurt. I think it equally could be the protesters as well as those who might be removing them. So it's a regrettable situation. I wish they could find other ways of protesting. I think it's also important to say that these people have been labelled as possibly terrorists. I don't believe that is the right term here. There is no... International definitions of terrorism involve the idea of violent extremism. There is no violence here. The protest is non-violent by definition, and thereby they are not definable as terrorists. And I hope we can remove that verbiage from the lexicon of discussion around this issue. I really don't feel that's helpful.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.